picture the scenario for a moment. It is 2 o'clock in the morning. You are just utterly exhausted. I mean, physically and mentally drained.
Oh, just running on absolute fumes at that point.
Exactly. You have been at this for like 14 hours straight, just repeating the exact same demanding motion, tweaking tiny variables, knowing full well that a single lapse in concentration means you have to throw everything out. You have to start entirely from scratch.
Right. And you probably haven't seen your friends in weeks, honestly.
Oh, definitely not. Your diet consists almost entirely of, well, whatever happens to be in the nearest vending machine. Now, the question for you listening is, who are you in this scenario?
That's the real question.
Are you a rookie professional footballer alone on a freezing training pitch, practicing free kicks until your muscles literally seize up? Or are you a graduate student alone in a stark, sterile laboratory, staring at a centrifuge and praying that the specific batch of cells finally cultures?
Well, the profound irony here is that the psychological state, the physical exhaustion, and honestly, the sheer desperation to succeed in both of those scenarios are indistinguishable from one another.
They really are. And welcome to this deep dive. Our mission today is to uncover a hidden, just completely unexpected shared reality between two professions that society usually places at, opposite ends of the universe.
Yeah, it's a fascinating comparison.
We are looking at this brilliant career column published in the journal Nature. It was written by Sarah Blackford. She is an academic career consultant, an honorary teaching fellow, and crucially for our purposes today, a die-hard football fan.
Right, an Arsenal and England fan, I believe.
Exactly. And she wrote this piece right in the middle of the Men's FIFA World Cup 2026. Okay, let's unpack this. Because on the surface, you've got one person kicking a ball for a living and another trying to, sequence a genome or unlock the mysteries of quantum mechanics.
Sure, the daily tasks look completely alien to each other.
But if you peel back the layers and look at the actual mechanisms running the machine, the parallels are staggering. Now, to be clear, right up front, we aren't talking about salaries here.
Oh no, not at all.
A postdoctoral researcher is obviously not pulling down $100,000 a week like a top-flight striker, but the psychological landscape they must navigate just to stay employed, that is a total mirror image.
It really is a masterclass in pattern recognition. Because what's fascinating here is that we have the hyper-visible, sweat-soaked, culturally dominant arena of global professional sport on one hand. And on the other, we have the quiet, highly intellectualized, often invisible environment of academic research.
Very different aesthetics.
Completely different aesthetics.
Okay.
But underneath that, the structural DNA of these two careers, the precarious contracts, the international mobility, the absolute obsession with league tables, it's practically identical.
Let's start with the foundational requirement for entry into either field. The early days. I mentioned that 2 in the morning scenario earlier.
Yeah, that gauntlet of attrition. The sacrifices required at this stage are just immense.
Right.
Both the aspiring athlete and the early career scientist, they willingly forfeit their home life, their leisure time, their personal relationships. It requires this total, all-encompassing consumption of the self.
But you have to ask why. Like, why would someone willingly subject themselves to that? Why give up your 20s to that kind of grinding repetition? Especially in academia where the financial payoff is, frankly, pretty dismal.
Well, it boils down to a highly specific cocktail of raw talent combined with just a consuming passion.
Okay.
Neither of these individuals is clocking in and out for a paycheck. The system naturally filters out anyone who is motivated by simple financial stability. They are driven by a singular obsessive dream.
So they have this vision keeping them going.
Exactly. The psychological tether that gets them through that grueling repetition is the visualization of the ultimate win.
That makes a lot of sense. For the young player on the training pitch, the dream isn't just this vague concept of playing football. It's a highly idealized visualization of scoring a winning goal in a massive derby or lifting a trophy on the international stage.
It's that singular moment of undeniable victory.
Right. And for the early career researcher, the currency is different, but the emotional weight of that visualized victory is exactly the same.
They are visualizing the breakthrough, the eureka moment.
Yes.
They are dreaming of getting their name on a paradigm-shifting paper that forces their entire field to fundamentally rethink a concept.
It's a survival mechanism, really.
It is. It's the only way to endure the reality of pipetting tiny amounts of liquid into hundreds of tubes for months on end, or, running cone drills until you physically vomit.
But that early passion can only sustain you for so long, right? Especially when the system itself refuses to give you any real stability. How does someone maintain that intense drive when they don't even know what country they will be living in next year?
That is the big question.
Because success in both of these arenas requires way more than just talent. It demands this intense adaptability, a willingness to be constantly on the move. We hear about the transfer window in sports all the time.
Oh yeah, constantly on the news.
Players getting moved between clubs, it sounds thrilling, honestly. Moving to Madrid, off to Munich, but the academic equivalent, academic mobility, which means moving between research groups depending on where the funding is, that sounds like an absolute nightmare.
Academic mobility is often framed as a grand intellectual adventure by universities.
Mhm.
But we need to look at the mechanism of scientific progress itself to understand why it exists.
Okay, break that down for me.
From an institutional level, this mobility is considered vital. If you keep the exact same researchers in the exact same lab for 30 years, you risk profound institutional groupthink.
Ah, I see.
You need cross-pollination. You need a postdoc trained in Tokyo bringing a completely different methodological approach to a lab in Boston. The nomadic lifestyle, as brutal as it is, acts as an engine for driving global innovation.
I hear that argument. You need fresh ideas to prevent intellectual stagnation. I get it. But let's look at the reality for the actual human being doing the moving.
It's a heavy toll.
It really is. Moving to where your expertise is most valued sounds great in a glossy university brochure, but practically, it means packing up your entire life every 2 to 3 years.
Sometimes even more frequently.
Yeah. It means constantly adjusting to brand new colleagues, navigating entirely new national cultures, and sometimes literally having to learn a completely new language just to conduct your daily experiments. I struggle to see how that level of chronic instability doesn't just burn out our best minds. Is this constant movement actually beneficial, or is it just a byproduct of a broken short-term contract system?
Well, you are pointing to the human cost, which is profound. And you're doing all of this moving under the crushing anxiety of the short-term contract. The grant cycles dictate everything in academia. It's very much like seasonal contracts in lower league sports.
How long are we talking?
Most early career research funding lasts maybe 2 to 3 years at best.
So literally, the moment you unpack your boxes in that new country, the clock starts ticking.
The clock is deafening.
Yeah.
You have roughly 18 months to produce groundbreaking, publishable results before you have to start applying for the next job in the next country just to avoid unemployment.
Wow.
It makes putting down roots impossible. Buying a house, starting a family, integrating into a community. These fundamental human desires are sidelined because you are just in a constant state of professional survival mode.
Okay, let's assume you survive that gauntlet. You put in the grueling hours, you bounce across 3 different continents, you score the goals, you publish the paradigm-shifting papers, you finally secure the holy grail.
The permanent position.
Right, a permanent position. Here's where it gets really interesting. In sports, the player retires and becomes a manager or head coach. In academia, the postdoc becomes a principal investigator, a group leader, or a full professor. And this is where the structural irony gets dialed up to 11.
Because if we connect this to the bigger picture, landing a permanent position doesn't actually end the insecurity. It just radically alters the rulebook.
Exactly. I like to think about it like this. Imagine you spend 20 years dedicating yourself to mastering the intricate art of building high-performance engines. You become the absolute best engine builder on Earth. Your reward. You are promoted to managing the global supply chain for a massive car manufacturer.
Right. You aren't touching engines anymore.
Not at all. You're looking at spreadsheets. The researcher who survives the postdoc grind is no longer the one running the centrifuge or peering through the electron microscope.
The fundamental problem highlighted in this comparison is the Peter principle.
Meaning people get promoted to their level of incompetence.
Exactly. Neither the star striker nor the brilliant bench scientist was ever formally trained for the job they have just been promoted to.
They spent their entire adult lives honing an incredibly narrow, specialized physical or intellectual skill.
And suddenly, they are thrust into people and resource management. They have to recruit talent. They have to navigate the complex psychological dynamics of managing young, highly ambitious, and deeply anxious early career researchers.
Basically, younger versions of themselves.
Precisely. They have to navigate university politics, sit on ethics boards, and handle human resources disputes.
And they have to manage the money, right? Massive multi-million-dollar budgets. which fundamentally changes what failure looks like.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, as an individual contributor, if you fail an experiment, you fail yourself. As a group leader or a football manager, the burden shifts entirely to collective output. You are suddenly crushed by the pressure to ensure your entire team delivers results.
Let's look at the consequences of that pressure. In a football club, if the manager doesn't win games, the club gets relegated to a lower league.
Right.
They lose their television revenue, they have to sell off their best players, and the support staff gets fired.
So how does that relegation threat translate to a university lab?
It translates perfectly into the grant funding mechanism. If an academic group leader fails to secure major external grants, the lab effectively goes bankrupt.
Wait, really? Bankrupt?
Essentially, yes. They cannot afford the raw materials for experiments, they cannot afford to pay their postdocs, and those young researchers lose their jobs. The principal investigator might have a tenured salary, but their entire operation and the livelihoods of everyone relying on them will be completely dismantled. The survival of the whole ecosystem rests on the manager's ability to keep the funding flowing.
So what does this all mean for how these managers are judged by the outside world? Because if a football club loses 6 matches in a row, the fans are rioting, the media is demanding heads on spikes, and the manager is fired, the results are ruthlessly public. How is an academic manager evaluated? Are scientists gamified in that same brutal, public way?
The gamification is absolute. It is just disguised behind academic terminology. Where a football manager is judged on their position in the league table, researchers are evaluated by strict publication metrics and grant income. They're asked, are you publishing in top-tier journals like Nature or Science? Are you bringing tens of millions of dollars into the university's coffers? What is your international profile?
So publications are basically the goals scored, and grant money is the stadium ticket sales and television rights.
Exactly. And this doesn't just impact the individual scientist. It is the absolute lifeblood of the institution. Universities are aggressively obsessed with their positions in national and global league tables, just like football clubs.
But let's dig into the why there. Because a football club wants to be at the top of the Premier League because it guarantees hundreds of millions in broadcast revenue, global merchandise sales. What is the economic engine driving a university to care so deeply about being ranked, say, number 14 instead of number 20?
It is the exact same economic engine. Revenue.
Yeah.
High global rankings act as a direct, highly lucrative marketing tool. It attracts full fee-paying international students. A top-tier ranking brings in billions of dollars in alumni endowments, lucrative industry partnerships with pharmaceutical or tech companies, and massive government funding blocks.
Wow.
The intellectual success of the individual academic directly fuels the financial viability of the university.
Which brings us to the transfer market. I understand how you poach a star striker. The rival club owner walks in, slaps down $100 million transfer fee, buys out the contract, and takes the player. But how do you poach a scientist? What leverage does a rival university actually have, and how do they even know who to buy?
They know exactly who to buy because of a metric called the H-index.
I have actually seen this term thrown around in academic circles. Walk us through the H-index, because it sounds like the scientific equivalent of a baseball batting average.
It is much more powerful than a simple average. The H-index is this algorithmic distillation of a scholar's entire intellectual worth into a single, highly gamified number.
A single number?
Yes. It attempts to measure both productivity and citation impact simultaneously. Technically speaking, it means a scientist has published H number of papers that have each been cited at least H times by other researchers.
Okay, so if I have an H-index of 40, that means I have 40 published papers that have been cited by other scientists at least 40 times each.
Correct. It measures not just volume, but influence. How deeply are you shaping the work of the rest of the scientific community? And this number is highly public. It functions precisely like a goal-scoring record in a transfer market.
That is wild.
A group leader with a soaring H-index is an incredibly valuable asset because if a rival university hires them, that university gets to claim all of that researcher's prestige and future high-impact publications, which immediately boosts the university's own league table ranking.
It's just wild to picture a bunch of university deans in a boardroom acting like ruthless club owners, plotting a hostile takeover of a rival star astrophysicist just to jump 3 spots in the global rankings.
It happens constantly. They offer enormous startup packages, brand new state-of-the-art laboratory spaces, and guaranteed long-term funding to lure these high-index researchers away.
But there has to be a downside.
Oh, we absolutely have to look at the dark side of this gamification. When an entire career and the financial security of a lab is boiled down to a single metric, it radically changes behavior.
Right. It incentivizes playing the game rather than doing the actual work.
Exactly. It creates immense systemic pressure to chase trendy research topics that guarantee quick, easy citations. It discourages scientists from taking risks on slow, methodical, long-term science that might not yield a published paper for a decade.
Because why risk it?
Right. Why risk a 10-year study on a novel mechanism if it might fail and tank your 8 index when you can just publish 5 minor incremental papers on a popular topic this year and secure your funding?
Not to mention the self-citation game, where researchers constantly reference their own past work to artificially inflate their score.
Yes, that is a huge problem.
You take an environment meant for pure, unbounded discovery and you turn it into an algorithmic rat race. It really demystifies the ivory tower and makes academia look like a full-contact sport. The systemic pressures, the nomadic lifestyle, the ruthless gamification, it is fundamentally the exact same machine.
It really is.
But this is the crucial pivot where we kind of have to blow the final whistle on the comparison because, yes, the structure is identical, but the ultimate cultural payoff, that is where the mirror completely shatters.
It is a very sobering reality check.
Look at the elite footballer who actually survives the gauntlet and makes it to the top. The rewards are astronomical.
Unbelievable wealth.
Seven-figure weekly salaries, unimaginable global fame, millions of adoring fans chanting their name in massive stadiums, endless sponsorship deals. They are elevated to the status of modern deities.
Whereas the elite researcher, the one who navigated the exact same psychological meat grinder, who sacrificed their 20s and moved across the globe 3 times, they will rarely see anything remotely resembling that kind of financial compensation.
Right, they will never be mobbed in an airport.
No. There are no lucrative shoe deals for the person who maps a new protein folding mechanism.
So what is the point? If you are enduring the exact same precarity and stress, but you don't get the millions and the adoration, what is the payoff? Why stay in the machine?
The author of the column summarizes this beautifully, I think. For the researcher, the ultimate victory is about profound, lasting impact. It isn't about personal glory or wealth generation.
It's bigger than that.
Much bigger. The payoff is the moment a novel treatment saves a life because of the thousands of unseen hours they spent in a sterile lab. It is the deep, quiet satisfaction of solving a previously unsolvable problem. It is about permanently advancing human knowledge.
That is their World Cup trophy.
Exactly. The knowledge that they have moved the needle for humanity, even just a fraction of an inch.
Papers published. Goals scored. Human survival advanced. It completely reframes how you look at both professions. You start to see the athlete as a highly specialized, precarious worker, and you start to see the scientist as an elite, fiercely competitive performer.
It really changes your perspective.
It does, but it leaves you with a thought I want to pass on to you, listening right now. A question to just mull over long after this deep dive ends. We've established that the pressure, the precarious contracts, and the brutal competitive structure of these two careers are completely identical. But if the scientific victories are the ones that actually cure diseases, solve the climate crisis, and literally keep our species alive, why has society built a world where we only offer the fame, the unfathomable wealth, and the global adoration to the people kicking a ball?
A truly provocative thought.
What would our society actually achieve if we celebrated, televised, and funded our researchers with the exact same feverish passion as our World Cup stars? Something to ponder the next time you tune in for a match. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.